Now, often for those of us in the church, there's a real disconnect between our understanding of ambition and holy ambition, our understanding of servanthood and sacrifice. We want to be great, but often we are unwilling to see that greatness will not mean something different for us than it did for our rabbi. We are kept from true servanthood and the greatness it really does bring because we fear and even believe at some level that if we become a true servant of all, dying completely to ourselves, we may not have all that we need, that God may forget about our best, our desires, our hopes, our dreams. But this is the power in what Jesus is speaking here. As we see him fully give himself to others, it is done so on the basis that his Father will fully give himself to him. Servants are not without care, as so often believed. They are, in fact, the most cared for and secure oftentimes. Yes, their life is dependent upon their master, but if their master is the ruler of the universe, perfect in all his ways, fair and just and loving, then you can be sure that he will be faithful, not just in preserving those he loves, but in blessing them as well. This is the paradigm we have to grasp if we're going to wrap our heads around what Jesus is after here in this text. As he so often does, Jesus is challenging the story most of us believe. There are two stories here being told in this text. The first is that we have, at some or many levels, need to care for ourselves. We have to pull ourselves up, put ourselves out there, reach for and climb to the top, throw elbows if you have to. That's the American way. This is the story of success and greatness according to the world. Do the most. And it's hard to shake that. It really is. But the second story we see here is the way of the kingdom or of servanthood, including death and enemy love and sacrifice and dependence. Not easy, not without loss and complexities, but also not without reward. The reality is the story you live under, the story you believe about servanthood will be the story that you live out. The question this morning is, what will you choose to do with what you know? What will you choose to do with these belief systems that you carry, whether they're age-old or brand new? Whether they're from some weird old church experience you had or some new one that was also weird. What will you choose to do with it? It's clear from our text that if you choose success and greatness in terms of the world, that your motivation will be ambition. That your expectation will be position, and that you will feel entitled to some sort of benefits. If servanthood is the choice that you make, then your motivation will be love. The expectation here is that you would become a servant, and you will be entitled to, get ready for it, death. Good morning. What a blessing. Now listen, this looks neat and orderly. It's not that way in the kingdom of God. It's messy for those of us who are sorting out and sussing this out as we try to serve Jesus with our lives, but this is a reality for many of us that we need to confront even this morning, even within ourselves. Now the choice we have here is entirely ours, but the standout truth is that for the disciple of Jesus, there really is only one way to be great. So if you're trying it any other way, get ready to be disappointed. Our call is to be like our rabbi, to take the path of servanthood. It's not negotiable. I mentioned it earlier, it's just not, even though we like to presume that it is. It's not an option if we truly want to identify, as Jesus says, with his suffering, with his death, his life, and his resurrection. Some of you don't have resurrection life because you haven't identified first with his death. You can't experience the power of the Spirit aside from it, but we fool ourselves by having experiences here and there, getting this podcast, that podcast, getting fat with the things of the kingdom of God, and yet fail to move into the realities of those things and experience them for ourselves. We're feasting on other people's death and resurrection, and it is subpar at best. It is a lie and an illusion. It is only giving you part of what you're supposed to experience in the kingdom of God, and not just experience, but know.